Hey, hi, how you doing? It's Jim. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to a Sunday edition of this channel. Whatever this is, it's just me. And I've got somebody with me today, someone we've been meaning to talk to for so long. It's Scott. Hey, Scott, how you doing?
What's going on? No, thanks for having me on. Obviously, you and I have talked,
Yeah.
off camera a bunch of times. Believe it or not, guys, this is the first time Jim and I have actually met. So, we thought this would be kind of cool that, both our audiences see, what it is that brought us together today. Yeah. And I'm excited. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah,
I love your channel. I'm giving you 100 shout outs on my channel. You know how I feel about you, man.
I know. To be fair, though, we did meet on Canadian Stud Muffins live stream, didn't we? That was where it was.
Yes,
maybe about
did.
2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. So
yeah. Right when I first started my channel. Yeah.
19 months ago then. Yeah.
A year and a half. So I forgot about that, man. When you get old, you don't remember everything 100%, but no, good stuff, man. I think we can start really looking forward to doing some things together more often. But yeah, it's a pleasure to talk to you about the one thing I really like to talk about in this whole wide world, and that's prog rock. And so good morning, Jim. It's morning over here. I know.
Good afternoon from the UK. It's 4. What time is it? It's 4 o'clock. 10 past 4. 10 past 4 in the afternoon. So
okay, 4:08. Yeah,
it makes it difficult. This is one of the wonderful, lovely things about YouTube and the internet is it brings everybody together. But one of the frustrating things about it exemplifies the biggest problem, which is the time difference. So trying to get together with somebody who you want to talk to at a time that's mutually beneficial to everybody is nigh on impossible. But thank you for
adds a layer of complexity to it.
Yeah, but thank you so much for sort of doing this today. I know it's early in the morning and stuff, but it kind of works. And if you'd want to do these things, you have to do these things. So
but I think I'm just kind of interested, because I know my backstory, and I always assume that everybody watching my channel has watched every single one of my videos, so they must know everything about me. Sometimes, we forget that I don't know everything about Jim Newstead, which is kind of weird. I've watched enough of your videos, but what got you started doing this whole YouTube thing anyway, Jim?
Wow. This is something that won't be new to my viewers, but it's trying to think how long, 5.5 years ago, maybe. Anyway, I was doing what you were doing, so watching other people making YouTube videos. I could do that. I just did it for fun. I did a couple of reaction videos to some Devin Townsend music, which I discovered via another YouTube reaction channel. And literally, I did it as a way to introduce it to some of my friends. And I made the video. I kind of forgot all about it, and I posted it. I posted the link to my friends, who, by the way, never actually watched it anyway. I came back to it 2 or 3 weeks later, or however long it was, and I said, "Oh my god, this has had about sort of 400 or 500 views," and people are commenting on it, and people will say, "Oh, you should do this one next."
That's weird.
Who are you? Who are you people? This is crazy. So I said, "Oh, well, shall I do it? Shall I do another one?" I said, "Well, that means that I'm a YouTuber." "No, it doesn't. I just do it." "Well, yeah, go on, I'll do it." So I did another one. And then I did another one, and it just snowballed, and I just couldn't stop. And then it was suddenly a way of me to meet and connect with people, to talk about music that I've not been able to do, not properly in a meaningful way for a long time, because my life moved away from where I originally lived, and a lot of my friends are now 100, 200 miles away, so I don't see them on a day-to-day basis. And one of the things I used to do back in the day was you go down the pub, have a few drinks, sit there, chat about music.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but if you haven't got anyone to do that with, you haven't got anyone to do it with.
Talk about football, you talk about music, you talk about that kind of stuff. And, when you get older, at some point in your life, most people get married, they get a grinding job that wears them down, and then they got kids and a mortgage and all this stuff. And somewhere along the line, music stops being that important to people.
Yeah.
But, I never grew up I never had kids. I never had that, great career or anything. So I never really had any reason to put music in a lower place in my life. But what I'm finding is a lot of guys, my age in particular, they've come to a point in their life where, hey, the kids have graduated. I don't have to work, 100 hours a week anymore if I don't want to. All of a sudden, they can put the time, the energy, and the disposable income into music again. And where they start, boy, they're going to go right to that sweet spot right when they were 13, 14, 15 years old. What kind of music were they listening to? And at some point, if they go on YouTube, man, they're going to find me. Here I am. I'm ready for you, with my story and my mission, which is to use that as a hook, man. Everybody loves Yes and Genesis and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and King Crimson and Pink Floyd and Jethro Tull. They're a great jumping off spot. But for me, it's a hook to bring you in. So maybe, just maybe, you'll listen to, a new artist that I'm talking about that I'm really high on as well. Yeah. And, it actually has been working, and I feel like we're making a little dent here, us little handful of YouTubers, helping these unknown artists out. And, you do the exact same thing when you're reacting to a Crippled Black Phoenix album, man. There will be a spike in interest in that band that they would not normally have. And so we're all playing a real critical role in this revival, which, if you think about it, the internet has in part been a big reason for the prog revival. So we're kind of uniquely positioned, if they want to check out a band I'm talking about, guess what? They're on YouTube. There's that little search button right there. They can go see it. YouTube's probably got recommendations on the right-hand column showing live videos or the latest, official video by that same band. We're in a good position to make a difference and to try to let people know, man, there's still some fantastic artists out there. And I'll use whatever hook I can get to make that happen.
So the thing about you is you know a lot of this stuff. You've been there and lived it and been through the golden period of prog and know all that music. For me, it's crazy. People don't believe it, but I'm still discovering it. I still don't know it all. And I think when you're saying about the sort of the golden age that perfect age of sort of 12, 13, 14 years old when you listen to music, for me, that was Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and stuff. So that was where I started off, really discovering music for myself. And at that age, you don't really want to look back at what came before because you think, that's old. I don't want that. I want what's for me. And so I never did, apart from, I think, Pink Floyd slipped through and Deep Purple and Rainbow and obviously Led Zeppelin, because it always does.
Did you have any older siblings?
No, I was the oldest.
Okay, I had a older brother 5 years older than me and an older sister 4 years older than me. I think a lot of that infiltrated.
Yeah, it will do.
So I think even though, during a lot of the golden age of prog, I was still, not even a teenager through a lot of it. I was born in 1962, but through osmosis, through older siblings, I got the lion's share of it, So I feel like, even though I wasn't there for all of it, I feel like I kind of was. And I think that adds a different dimension to, what I bring to, my content on the Prog Corners. I was kind of I was the dude that was actually there. I actually saw ELP and Yes in their prime and Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin. I'm that guy who was actually there. So I think it gives me that safe, the cool grandfather you never had vibe to some of my younger viewers.
It also gives sort of validity and authenticity to what you're talking about as well. That you're talking the talk and walking the walk. You've done it and been there, rather than just sort of. Not that I'm pretending. Obviously, I'm not. But I'm only talking about it from my experience 40 years after the event, and it's a different thing. Apart from obviously,
and I think there's also there's another story buried in there too, which is the story of the prodigal son's return home, and that all through the 80s and 90s, man, prog rock was anathema to me. I was a punk rocker. My band was punk. and I didn't really care for, a whole lot of what was coming out of the 80s, the whole neo-prog scene. I did like Fish era, Marillion, but I wasn't a huge fan, and I just kind of lost interest in prog in general. So, there is that, I didn't care about it and now I do again angle. And there's a whole lot of people that I think fit that category. There's not a whole lot of people that were obsessive fans of prog rock throughout its entire 55-year history. And most people had a gap in there.
Yeah.
And most of the time that's going to be the 80s, so I amplify that. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. And, their own story about what led them back to the greatest genre of music that ever was. And it's just crazy that I was sleepwalking through the 80s and 90s that I forgotten who my favorite bands were and what they were doing. And there was just this whole collective amnesia. Like, we weren't supposed to remember that these bands were selling millions of copies of albums and filling stadiums.
Yeah.
We were supposed to forget none of that happened. Well, no, there's been an awakening, my friend. and there's a reckoning because we demand some skin in the game. And I want to help make that happen.
What made you sort of turn away from prog in the 80s? Is it just because you got fed up with the 80s music scene in general and you wanted to?
Yeah, it was actually before the 80s proper. A lot of the bands that I loved and worshipped were either breaking up or putting out music I didn't like. Tormato, Love Beach, and then there were three. King Crimson had broken up. It just was getting to be a real slog to find a whole lot of music in that realm that I liked. But at the same time, I was really enjoying what was coming out of the whole punk scene. I love the Clash. I love the Damned. I love the Sex Pistols. I love the Ramones. I love the Dead Boys.
I'm so glad to hear you say that because so many people on my channel have said, "Oh, punk is disgusting. It's evil. It's horrible." And I don't really want to fight them about it. But I said, well, I get that a lot of it is not up to your taste at all, but I think it's still very valid music, and it's doing something that had to be done, and it was really important.
It had to be done
for a generation.
I was
of people.
so fed up, man. I couldn't stand it anymore. The pretense of what music was turning into, and these artists who I used to love being coddled by labels, giving them bad advice, and it was too much. I needed something new, something exciting. Yeah. And you were never going to do anything that was going to be as complex as Close to the Edge or whatever. So in my mind, the whole punk rock thing was just acceptance of, it's over. What? We're never going back there. And it needed to be torn down, I think, to be rebuilt. Absolutely. And what happened was very early on, you started seeing bands realizing, prog was awful and evil, and it was terrible, and it was wicked and vile. And, Johnny Rotten met Sid Vicious because he's wearing that I Hate Pink Floyd t-shirt, but it turned out he was actually a really big fan of Vandergraaf Generator. Yeah. Give me a break. The reality is that you started hearing a lot of progressive sounds creeping up in the Stranglers' music, in the music of Ultravox, man, Gang of Four, This Heat. These bands had plenty of progressivism in their sound. Back in the US, you had bands like Per Ubu doing some really progressive stuff under the banner of post-punk or whatever. Wire, extremely progressive. So, they might have been thumbing their nose at prog, but a lot of the music that I love from the 80s was never called prog, but was actually very progressive. I think Stephen Wilson just released an anthology that kind of covers that period of time. Yeah. And I can't agree with him more. And that's where my absolute love and undying affection for XTC was born, from that void in the prog world. I needed something else, and XTC kind of filled that void for me. Yeah. Until I fell back in love with prog again later on in life. And he Andy Partridge and that band, very important for me. But it was really 2000 when I heard Transatlantic for the first time, because I kept trying to hear these new prog bands like Spock's Beard and Dream Theater and the Flower King. They sounded okay, but it wasn't until I heard like all of it kind of coming together with Transatlantic that then I figured it all out and it all made sense to me.
Was that their first album?
The first album was the one that I heard that and it all kind of clicked for me. So I went back and I checked out all the old Flower Kings, all the old Spock's Beard, all the H era Marillion albums that I kind of never listened to because I didn't like what I was hearing there at first. And then the second Transatlantic album came out about a year later, and it was over. I was in 100% from that point forward.
Line and sinker.
yeah. And Neil Morris has been kind of my favorite artist of this wave of prog. I kind of love everything he's done. I've gone back and reassessed the Spock's Beard stuff. I was wrong. It's all genius. Obviously, I love all his solo stuff, the Neil Morris Band stuff, the Transatlantic stuff, the Flying Colors stuff. It's just ridiculous. Everything he and Mike Portnoy do together, I'm probably going to be interested in. Just a great partnership. I really hope Transatlantic is not done.
I hope so too. Do you think they are? Why is there any suggestion they might be?
Yeah, there's all kinds of body language and things not being said, and then the reality of the situation is those are four real busy guys. To try to get them back together to do a new album and maybe some live dates would take a lot of logistics and it's exhausting. Who wants to put together another album like The Absolute Universe? Not one, not two, but 3 different versions of the same album. And it's got to be a lot. And then, like I said, there was, some unspoken things. I've heard some things that maybe things weren't running 100% smooth in Transatlantic world. And maybe it was time for everybody to kind of take a break from each other. Who knows, man? All I know is I love all 5 of their albums so much. And if they're gone permanently, it's definitely going to hurt my heart. And I need more. I always need more from those guys.
Do you visit?
They were the band,
Do you go back and listen to old music again? You don't always listen to new stuff. You listen to all your... I mean, you must have hundreds and hundreds of records. And I guess you listen to a handful of them regularly, or do you listen to everything sort of religiously? You're right, I'm going to work all the way through it again and again and again. There must be some favorites.
It's definitely changed in the last year and a half. Before I started the YouTube channel, I really didn't have any pressure or expectation to ever listen to new music. So I probably listen to more of the classic stuff. Right now, I really do try to give myself a kind of a guideline, and that is 50% of what I listen to is stuff that I've never heard before. First run throughs, I've got a backlog of bands and albums and new things people want me to listen to.
Tell me about it.
I really do try to listen to it all. I really do. And then the other half is just for pleasure, listening to whatever I want to. And that probably breaks down mostly, within the last 20 years. I don't listen to a lot of, the 70s stuff that much anymore. There's so much great music in the last 20 years. I tend to listen to more Wobbler than Yes these days. I really do. But that's because I haven't heard those great Wobbler tracks as many times as I've heard, the great Yes tracks. But so it's really, really hard when you're trying to give these new bands as much time and attention as possible. So what's happening is I'm actually listening to fewer new albums than I used to. I used to try to listen to like 300 or 400 new albums a year. But because I'm actually trying to decide whether or not I'm going to review an album, and if I am going to review an album, boy, I really do try to break it down and try to figure out what key it's in, a time signature, and where they're going and what they're doing and what the instrumentation is. And I really think about this stuff, man. And that means I'm listening to these records like 20 times before I review them.
Gosh.
So that actually cuts down on the number of albums that I actually listen to annually. So I'm down to maybe like 150 new albums a year that I listen to.
How do you find the time to listen to that many new records?
I drive around at work.
Okay.
I'm a traveling salesman.
Okay. That works.
So I'm in my car. I go from client to client. And so I try to time, okay, this next track is 13 minutes. Let's see, the next client's like, okay, 15 minutes away, or oh man, this is a long track. So I take a little detour to make sure I don't have to
of course.
Stop it. Yeah. Okay. I kind of time my whole day around running times of Prog albums.
Yeah.
No, so it allows me to listen to a lot of music. It really does.
Yeah. That's very reminiscent to what I was doing maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago. I used to drive a lot for work, and and it worked very well. I could listen to so much music, but if you don't do that for a living, it really limits your listening time. It really does.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you come home and now there's other things going on, distractions and life and
stuff.
You know how that goes. So I love having that time in my car. Even on the weekends, the wife's like, "Oh, we're running a little low on dog food." I'm like, "Okay, I'll be back. Okay. I'm going to Walmart now." And she's like, "What took you so long?" I'm like, that was a 20-minute song. Almost 5 minutes away. Okay. But yeah. So that helps explain how I can actually do what I do and do it in good faith, because I'm not gonna the hardest thing on the channel actually was last year. I was challenging people to send me your obscure albums, right?
Yeah.
And they sent me like 160 albums, and I had heard like 40 of them. And I'm like, oh boy. So there's 120 albums that I need to actually listen to, seriously listen to, and try to then rank. And some of them were amazing, and I want to listen to them more and more. So it's just crazy what I do for the love of Prog. You have no idea, Jim.
Oh, no, I do, and it takes me a long time to do my videos as well. It's a different sort of thing, but I do know the investment of time and effort to put into it. I don't think the audience actually gets that sometimes. That there's a lot of work goes into it.
And I think on your what people don't see in your videos is all the back end production, the post production, the editing, the stuff that you do to make your videos sing, to make them flow just right. But I don't think a lot of people understand is a lot of the front end stuff that I do on my videos.
Exactly.
Man.
Yeah, the research.
I'm doing what am I doing tomorrow? Oh Lord, Jimmy. What have I gotten myself into? The top 25 prog bands from. I'm doing my Prog Around the World series, right?
Right, yeah.
And next up is Poland.
Oh wow! I can name a few that are going to come from there.
And honestly, I've heard maybe like 10 or 12 Polish bands in my life. Up until like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
When I started this thing, so. Guess what I've been doing the last 6 months? I've been listening to a whole lot of prog bands from Poland for the last 6 months.
For 6 months.
Because I'm not going to sit around and talk about something I don't know
for this one video.
Understand.
That's great. So 6 months of preparation for this one video.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. I am. Brazil is on the horizon. It's going to take me probably a year.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to, if I'm going to rank, these are the very best, I'm never going to do Poland again, man. Right? So I owe it to every prog band, past and present, to try to get it kind of right.
Yeah.
Because it's evergreen content, man.
Yeah.
There's going to be one person a week till the end of time that's going to Google best prog band from Poland, and my video is going to pop up. Yeah. And I have a responsibility to try to get it right. And I feel that way about every one of these videos. I really do. And they don't see how much I actually put in, on the front end before I do these. And that's fine, but I do really try, and I know I know what you're talking about when you're saying they just don't see quite how much goes into these, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I need you to do well. Do you use Discogs to track your records, or you just have them?
I do not.
No, okay.
I do not. I wish I would have from the get-go, right? Now I'm so deep. I got like 1,300 titles right now.
Yeah.
It almost feels insurmountable now, you know?
It's a big old job. I've just finished putting in I've got all my records in. I've just literally in the last week or so finished doing all my CDs as well, because that's once I was looking at I can't do it. That's monumental. I cannot do that. So come on, just do it. So I've got them all in as well. But what I was going to say is, if you have a shared Discog not sign-ins, but so become friends on Discord, you can look at each other's collections and you could see it.
Yeah, I'd love to.
What are you
One
missing,
day I will.
Jim? You're missing something really important here. Here. This is what you should be getting. I'd love you to be able to tell me what I'm missing and what I should be listening to. Yeah.
Well, I got something for you.
Go on then.
I got something for you today, right here. You know me.
I do.
I'm always going to be plugging something, man. And today we're plugging JPL. Oh, yeah, the great Sapiens trilogy. It's Jean-Pierre Louboutin from France. He's a guitar player, singer, songwriter of the band Nemo, who did 9 amazing albums, all in French. And JPL's Sapiens trilogy began in 2020 with Sapiens Part 1. In 2021, Sapiens Part 2.
Excellent.
Oh, it's all in French, man. And 2022. Yeah, I got it signed too.
Excellent.
Yeah. This is Sapiens Part 3. JPL, Jean-Pierre Louboutin, his 2 favorite bands in the world of all time are Yes and Iron Maiden.
Oh my God.
Do you think I love this guy?
Yes. Does his music reflect that?
He's amazing, man.
The music reflects that inspiration.
Yeah, it does pretty accurately, and with a healthy dose of Thin Lizzy.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It's awesome. Awesome.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Show me where to sign up.
I'll shoot you a link.
Definitely.
Yeah, you got to investigate this guy's music. He's amazing. JPL, French composer. It's all in French, so he's never gonna, be huge. He's never gonna break big. But the level of greatness on that trilogy, the Sapiens trilogy, just incredible. And so I figured, hey, I got new eyeballs. My people are tired of me talking about JPL, so I figure a fresh new audience to pimp an artist that absolutely needs some love. Amazing stuff. Really, really good. Jean-Pierre Louboutin.
I shall be bringing him or his music to the channel at some point fairly soon. Then
you'll
definitely.
love it. And then I've been crying. The problem with having a big mouth, Jim. I don't know if you know this or not, but I open my mouth a lot. So when I
notice,
cry and moan and complain that an artist doesn't have anything out on vinyl, and then they finally do after releasing over 30 albums, I kind of got to put my money where my mouth is, right?
Oh, okay.
Sunchild. This is Anthony Kalugin from Carthagena. He's a Ukrainian artist.
Right.
He had to emigrate to Poland once the bombs started falling on his beloved Ukraine. It didn't stop him from recording amazing music. And this is Sunchild. And this is the first album he's ever dropped on vinyl, man. Wow. He's been doing all this crazy stuff under the Carthagena name, Sunchild name, Anthony Kalugin. And I've been crying and whining and moaning and complaining. So I was excited to get that in the post office yesterday. So
excellent. Excellent.
I don't know if you're aware of Carthagena.
No, I'm not. See, this is where your knowledge is so much
great.
Greater than mine.
So great. I like talking about the new stuff, obviously, but guess what's behind me, right? All the old Roger Dean covers, right?
Yeah.
So again, you hook them with the stuff that they know, and then you talk about stuff with a little,
Yeah.
I'm not going to listen to somebody tell me, oh, yeah, yeah. They tell me I'm a little over the top, Jimmy. Can you believe that? They say maybe I'm like a professional wrestler or something like that, or I get too loud. But you know, if somebody's telling me, oh yeah, this is a really good record, yeah, you should buy it. It's really, I'm not, dude. I'm not listening to you.
No,
I'm only listening to somebody that I see some genuine emotion,
you want to
some
excitement.
Yeah.
You want to, if you're talking about something and you are excited by it and you are inspired by it and it means something to you, you're going to express it. You're going to talk about it. If you're just going to talk really monotone and say, "Well, this is the new record that has come out by," yes, it came out a few weeks ago. You might
exactly.
Like who's going to watch that?
No.
Who's going to listen to it?
So,
it's just
that's what it is, Jim.
Yeah.
I cut my teeth watching you and the Daily Doug and Nick and Lex. And that's who I was watching early on.
Wow.
So I think it's some of the emotional reactions, the genuine, real reactions that you get from somebody like yourself when you're hearing something that moves you and you're hearing it for the very first time, and there's that actual real emotion. I can do that about something I really love.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be me listening to it for the first time. I can still generate that kind of sense of wow, wonder, and awe about something that I absolutely love. If not, then why am I talking about it, man? You know, that's kind of how I approach it. You know, why would I even be wasting my time? Like you said, oh, this is a really, really good record from another band. No, come on, man. I ain't got time for that. Nobody's got time for that. So yeah. So I attribute some of my shenanigans and my over the topness and my emotional
flamboyance
stuff is because of you.
But I wouldn't say that I was over the top particularly, but
not at all. But you're real. You always keep it real.
Okay.
And that's kind of what I go for, try to have that same kind of, immediate emotional attachment to something. And I think because if I don't have that, I'm not going to, I will only review probably 40 albums this year on the channel.
Yeah.
But I'm going to listen to probably 150 to 200.
Yeah.
Guess what's the decider and whether I review it or not?
Whether it is connected with you.
Yeah, that's it. It doesn't matter what score it is. Do I have a connection with the music? If I don't, I'm not going to talk about it because I'm going to be boring myself talking about it, let alone my audience. It's not going to happen.
So if something's very sort of mediocre, it's never going to get the attention. And I think that's the same in life of everything. You are either something is amazing or something is really terrible, and both draw attention. So if something is really terrible, you're still going to shout and talk about it, and
you will.
It will create interest, and people will want to talk about it. And it's something which is just bobbing along, doing its own thing.
Yeah.
Not too, sort of Goldilocks, not too hot, not too cold, but just right. Yeah, it's boring.
I miss the Goldilocks bands because in the 70s, the industry was so glutted and there was so much money floating around. You had these huge bands that were making a ton of money, and then you had the bands that were barely struggling and their next album might be their last album because their first two didn't sell. And then you had the ones in the middle, and there were hundreds of them, man. There were so many Pablo Cruzes out there and Seals and Crofts and all these, in the middle bands, it's just insane. And I miss that about the industry. I miss there being a certain degree of comfort and mediocrity. You don't have that now. If you're not, like you said, if you're not knocking it out of the park or just doing something so out there that you can't help but notice, you're in trouble. Yeah. The market is too small. Yeah. Nobody's buying music.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in most people's lives, music is an afterthought. Most people, when, at least in the US, when polled, where do they get their music fix? How do they get their music fix? The answers are usually The Voice or America's Got Talent.
Oh, no way.
American Idol. That's where I get my, seriously. That's why these shows do so well. They've actually taken the place of pre-recorded music sales. That's where they're spending their time and their money and their energy. They don't care. Music's not important anymore.
I bet actually if we ask the same question here, it'd be something similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're gonna change that.
As much as we
because
can.
there is change in the wind, sir. Can't you feel the winds of change are blowing? And I do feel it. It's been as far as our tiny little genre of prog goes, it can only go up because it is so infinitesimally small right now.
I think
that the sky truly is the limit for it, and I'm excited to see where, just how far we can take it.
Yeah, I think we're definitely drawing in more people to hearing the music. And I'm going to sort of I hope not to piss you off too much, but I don't purely listen to prog. I listen to a lot of prog, but I'm very excited to listen to all sorts of music, and I do listen to all sorts of music, and I genuinely love. I'd say I genuinely love. There's country and western I'm not too keen on, but there's there's a lot of music that I really do like, and I find as long as there is an authenticity in it, and there's a genuineness in it, and it's conveying something real from the writers and the performers, then I want to hear it. And I think I reach an audience who come for different things, and I get people who come for a bit of metal, some come from some prog rock, well, quite a lot for prog rock. I get quite a lot come from sort of classic rock, and a smattering of other stuff in between, and there's a crossover, and they say, well, I'll listen to this. Oh, actually that's better than I thought it was going to be. So, and other people say, oh, I don't think I'd like metal. Well, that's quite good, isn't it? I said, yes. And it's there's this sort of cross pollination,
and I think your Van Halen listening episodes kind of exemplify that really well. This is a band most people are aware of, but a lot of people really hadn't spent a lot of time with those early records, and they should. I know because they're so good.
I know. I absolutely am guilty of that in my own right. Because guilty is a strong word to use, because I don't think I'm guilty. I just had never had the opportunity, and that's something I'm trying to put right. And I'm very, very privileged to be in a position where I can do that. I've got some time that I can fit into my crazy day, that I can do this listening to music. And that's what I choose to do with this time. And I feel very sorry for a lot of people who never get to listen to this music, and they never will. And they're missing out. But I can bring the horse to water, but I can't make them drink.
Exactly. Yeah. But you can bring, at least you can do your part. You bring them to the water, and it's like if I do an episode about the 10 best haircuts Yes members ever had, it'll do amazing numbers. But if I talk about the 10 best new prog rock bands, probably not as good of numbers. But that's our challenge, right? The challenge is to get that damn horse to drink some damn water. And you can't make that happen without trying.
No.
And that's the thing, man. I'm gonna die trying to get that horse to drink that water.
I've heard Jerry Ewing say similar things about Prog magazine, that if they have an unknown band on there, it will sell. If they put a picture of Yes from 1973 on there, or the cover of a Jethro Tull album, or so, it will sell in its tens of thousands. It'll sell out.
He shared with me some numbers in a DM once.
All right.
And it's you can't argue with numbers, and it's absolutely true. So you put Yes and Pink Floyd on the front, and then you just load the inside with the cool new bands. I'm okay with that. It's kind of what I do anyway. And you sneak in the vegetables into the children's meal whenever you can. I got to put peanut butter on my dog's medicine every night. We do what we need to do as parents. And I feel a custodial urge, a paternal instinct to protect prog rock, and just to make sure that the kids are getting what they need. They're getting their daily dose of new stuff.
I feel that when I play some of these really old records that I've never heard before, which are so well recorded and so well produced and sound amazing, I feel it's almost a duty, which kind of makes it feel like it's a formal thing, but it's not. That this music exists. Why are we spending so much time and energy trying to find new music when there is such amazing stuff already there that you don't know about?
That's it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, there is an answer to that question. And the bottom line is that there was something very, very special happening post Beatles UK in particular. It was felt around the world, but every earthquake's got an epicenter.
Yeah.
That epicenter is the Marquee Club in London. But something happened in the UK post Beatles. The economic conditions were such that if you had any musical inclination, you could just think in your mind's eye about them four boys from Liverpool. They seem to be doing all right playing that rock and roll music. Yeah. Why wouldn't you start a band?
Yeah.
And not only would you start a band, but there is every reasonable expectation that you could not only do okay with it, but you could change the world. And that attitude, that mind state that was present in England at that time, specifically England, you can't ever put the primordial ooze was absolutely perfect for the formation of the most perfect music ever created, which happened in the early 70s. And that is prog rock from the masters, man. Yeah. You put on Thick as a Brick, or you put on Close to the Edge, or you put on Selling England by the Pound. There's never been any music that's ever been recorded that is that good, period. And I know music is a subjective thing, right?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, I get it. I love Bach. I love Beethoven. I love Mozart. I love jazz. I love all of it. The best music ever recorded was recorded in the UK in the early 70s by progressive rock bands. It's insane what was going on there. The expectation level, the ability of these young men having a dream. Because when a dream could actually be legitimately materialized and they could see their friends becoming rich, that dude that I played in a band with last year is driving a limo around town because he's in a band that got signed. Yeah. They were seeing it on the daily.
Yeah.
And it created this whole thing, man, this magnet of talent. It sucked in all the talent. And just like, if I were a real talented athlete, I probably wouldn't want to play lacrosse. You'd want to go where the money is, right? You'd play football or basketball or baseball.
Yeah.
And if I was a talented musician, 1970 in London, I'm going to become a progressive rock musician. I just am. It was what you did. And that's why the talent level is so incredibly high. That incredible mix of talent, that diverse talent, the expectation that you could actually make some money doing it and get some fame. And then you had the record labels, hands-off approach. They had no idea what they were dealing with. So like, I don't understand this music. Do whatever you want. It's making us money. I don't care. The whole thing was just ripe for this explosion.
Do you think it because it was
genius?
I think
never happen again.
Do you think also because it was new? It was a completely new sort of concept that you could make music and you could that people said, all right, I will give it a go. So a musician, if Rick Wakeman had not grown up at that time, he'd probably have gone on to be in a classical orchestra. Or
he would have continued his studies at the Royal Academy.
So
what he would have done. Yeah,
he would have
continued, and that's exactly what would have happened. Yeah,
and I think that's probably the case for a lot of musicians.
Oh yeah,
that they got to a certain point and said, "Oh, I don't have to carry on doing this. I can do what I'm doing, but do it in a band because actually that's quite cool as well." And it's not the old-fashioned rock and roll. It's not Elvis anymore. We can do something new, something different, something really interesting. And so they did. And
so, like you said, it was. From a business standpoint, it was something new.
Yeah.
My dad couldn't do this, but I could.
Yeah.
It was kind of something brand new from that angle. But artistically, also, Bill Bruford talks about there being a whole bunch of slack in the rope in 1969. And I totally get the metaphor. I know what he's talking about there. I mean, no one had done this stuff before.
Yeah.
What about fusing jazz with classical with rock? And now it sounds like, that sounds like 4,000 other bands I've ever heard. In 1969, it was like, Huh?
Yeah.
What? Nobody?
Yeah.
Okay, do
Yeah.
that. Nobody's ever done that before. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of slack in the rope, a lot of stuff nobody had ever done before, a lot of chord progressions no one had ever tried before, a lot of juxtapositions of instruments and influences that hadn't been done before. It gets progressively harder and harder and harder with each passing year to do something that is actually new and different. In 1969, 1970, not so much. I mean, pretty much everybody was doing something that no one had ever done before. And so, yeah, part of it was newness for sure, but also part of it was the financial expectations and the absolute concentration of talent, inspired by the Beatles, certainly, but also rough post-war economic times in the UK.
Yeah.
And that absolutely added fuel to the fire of young men's dreams, man. And when they saw what they could actually do as a realistic career option, yeah, that the talent flooded in, and we'd never seen anything like it before. Never will ever again, ever, because the expectation that a prog band could become millionaires is just ridiculous. It's not going to happen ever again.
Do you think it started with Sgt. Pepper?
Something started with Sgt. Pepper, but there'd been some, ruminations going around. But Sgt. Pepper is such an important album, not because it was the first concept album. It really wasn't. Not because it was the first album that had progressive leanings. It wasn't that either. But what it was a band at the absolute top of their game artistically and commercially. Now saying we can flip this whole thing and do whatever we want.
And it was successful.
That is something a rock band couldn't do in 67. Commercially, it's still, you heard a lot of real progressive flavors floating around from a lot of bands in 67. Very progressive year. If you look around at a lot of records that were dropped in 67. But the Beatles were the Beatles, man. And they kind of set the tone for everything. And if the Beatles said it was all right, then it's all right kind of mind state. Sgt. Pepper started a whole avalanche of bands saying, you know what? Rock and roll can be art, man. And just that idea, the whole idea. Why are you playing rock music? Before Sgt. Pepper's, 99.9% was to get people to boogie and dance and shake their, I don't know. I was 5. But after Sgt. Pepper's, I'm going to start a band because I have an artistic expression that I want to make. That changes everything. It is now the intent that changed, and that changes the output. Absolutely.
Really interesting viewpoint. Excellent.
Yeah.
If you
the first prog album, everybody points to the first King Crimson album, and why not? It might be the first prog album with a capital P, but there's plenty of progressive stuff going on way before that record came out, no doubt. But would you cross over into jazz, sort of being sort of progressive? Because I mean, it is completely progressive, isn't it? In so many ways. Oh yeah. My dad was a jazz musician, so I grew up with a lot of jazz, and looking back at. As a music major in college, we had to study a lot of jazz charts, and we went back and looked at all the, the Coltrane charts and the Miles Davis charts, and just looking at what those cats were doing back then. But absolutely, I point to 1959. Dave Brubeck puts out a Time Out that's got Take 5 and Blue Rondo a la Turk, which both play around with these weird time signatures, kind of getting the American brain used to. Before Brubeck, nobody wanted to hear something in a cut time that was weird like that.
Right.
And then you move on to 1969. Miles Davis all of a sudden starts playing jazz with rock instrumentation, and it's blowing people's minds. So absolutely, without jazz, we would not have prog. People point to it's the marriage of classical and rock.
A symphonic.
There's a whole lot more to it than that. And without jazz, absolutely, there is no prog. So, it's not a purely UK phenomenon. The people that were alive and, Birmingham or Manchester or London in 1968, didn't have, earplugs in, man. They were listening to a lot of American R&B and a lot of American jazz too. It's like saying punk was a UK phenomenon, The Ramones predated the Pistols, so people, hear stuff, they're influenced by it. There is no ground zero for anything, but jazz, absolutely a big part of the whole formation of prog. And I don't think people point that out enough. They seem to want to say that in 1969, King Crimson dropped an album called In the Court of the Crimson King, and thus prog began. Okay. That's nice. That's a good story, but a little more complicated than that. So
everything always is, though.
Everything it is. Yeah. Nothing's ever as binary or cut and dry as you want it to be, as we're finding out in 2023, man. I'm 61 years old, so every day is a challenge for me in this new modern world. But I'm a boomer, but that's okay. I try to keep my get off my lawn-isms to a minimum and just go with the flow, and we'll be all right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sundays are fun, right?
Yeah, they are. I've got a very fun Wednesday coming up this week, hopefully.
Okay.
I got an invite in an email a few days ago from Stephen Wilson Management saying, would I like to go along to their listening of his new album?
You did not get the invite to the list.
I got listening. I got the invite.
Okay.
So he said, if you'd like to think about it and make your mind up. So,
hey, is this the first London one? All right.
Say again.
Is this the first one they've had in London?
No, second. There was one in July, I think.
There was one other one, right? Yeah, cool. Oh man, that's awesome.
But I'm so excited. I'm thrilled.
Cool.
I really am. So why? No, I'm not even going to ask why. Thank you.
That's what I'm talking about, man. I mean, we actually, our numbers might not match up with some other platforms, some other channels of media out there, but I guarantee you that the people that we do reach are way more loyal and they're way more reactive to, what we recommend because, we've built this like one-on-one trust with our audience. So if we go out on the limb and say, something positive about an artist or something, they absolutely take it with a lot of currency. And as such, it's good to hear that management for a big artist like SW is paying attention to what's going on here. This is awesome, and he even said, that's a win for all of us, Jimmy.
No, he even said in his email, perhaps you'd like to make a video afterwards for your channel.
Yes. Yeah, that's a win for us all. That is so good, brother.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's kind of, I've had little things like happen before, but that's a properly decent one. So I'm very excited.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Hopefully you walk out with some swag.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah,
nice. Good. I'm actually psyched for that album.
I really am.
Everything I've heard so far seems to indicate it might be something pretty special.
I think so too.
But I like the To the Bone and the Future Bites. I didn't hate those albums.
I didn't hate them. To the Bone, I actually really liked. I think there's some really good tracks on there.
I think it's pretty great, actually.
Refuge is brilliant.
The Future Bites. I mean, he never said, "Hey, this is my prog masterpiece." No. Give the guy a break.
No, totally.
He called it what it was. I'm doing more pop stuff on this album. Okay, that's what he did. He did it really well.
He did.
What do you want? I mean, he's not lying to you. Pretty much straightforward on that now. So. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. And there's a lot of really, really good records coming down the pike. We've got the new Flower Kings coming in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
That's really good. So, yeah. It's going to be a good we're going to finish the year 2023 strong. And hopefully that Stephen Wilson album will be as good as we hope.
Hope so. I really hope so. And I'm sure he'll be touring it as well. So there'll be some live dates coming. If not this year, then certainly sort of next year they'll be going around. So that will be fun because he'll be playing all his old stuff as well.
And I'm sure it'll be nice. More of a low stakes affair, I guess. I think that Pineapple Tree stuff. I think it stresses him out a little bit.
The Porcupine Tree, yeah.
I do. I think it stresses him out dealing with all that, like he was, touring on that. I think this album and this tour, I think it's going to be real special to him in his career. I just think this is going to be a really special record for him. So yeah. Hopefully he'll make it over to the States, so maybe I can finally see him.
Fingers crossed. Fingers
crossed.
Right. Yeah. So I saw him as Porcupine Tree last November, which was amazing, because I kind of figured I'm never going to see them. Nobody ever thought they would ever play again, did they? So, and then all of a sudden the album comes out, and then we're doing a tour. So what? That's amazing. But yeah, so
with the great Randy McStein in that touring band.
Yes,
boy,
yes,
I love him. He's so good.
Yeah,
awesome talent. But yeah, so what else you got going on, man? That's pretty good.
So just finished doing literally about half an hour before I came onto the call with you. Aphrodite's Child 666. Listening to that, ooh.
Oh yeah,
that went some places.
That's a different kind of record.
That went some places.
Yeah, it does.
It's got some moments of greatness in there.
It does.
It has. It's got a very, very lofty sort of ideals and what it was trying to do, and I think it was massively ambitious, lyrically and musically by Vangelis. And I think it's huge, and I think I'm very glad I listened to it over 2 or 3 different stages. I don't think I could have done it in one go.
No, I can't.
It's just too big. It's just too big.
It is, and my only complaint about it is it sounds oddly dated.
I thought the beginning of it did. I thought actually as it went on, maybe my ears just tuned into it. I sort of got used to it, but it does.
Whereas
some
records from '72, you listen to like Ziggy Stardust, you listen to Close to the Edge or Foxtrot, and it's like these don't really sound like they've aged a day. But for some reason, that always sounded to these ears perhaps a little dated. I don't know. Maybe it was the production.
Yeah, I think I think you might be onto something. I think it was the production, but also I think Aphrodite's Child before that album had been like a pop dance band.
Yeah, they were.
And so their sort of the way they made their music was much more sort of like a beat band sort of thing. And
so you're definitely detecting some of that still.
A
little bit in the band. Yeah.
But I could also hear the DNA of Vangelis's Blade Runner theme track, sort of 10, 12 years before that came out. So you could hear
that's the fun of that record to me, is you can definitely hear moments where Vangelis kind of prologues what you would be hearing later on from him. I love the record. It's really up and down for me, but it's a lot of fun. It's one of those records that every Prog fan needs to have in their collection and spend a little time with, because you're not gonna ever know where you land unless you give it a try. And
absolutely.
I give it a solid 8
out of 10.
Yeah.
I
like it. I think it's really good.
I don't ever really rate things like that. Maybe I ought to. I find it difficult, because I'll start off I don't like that very much. It'll be a 5, and it'll slowly creep up. It may get to a 9, then it's I've listened to this so much, I think it's a bit passé now, and it will just start to sort of ed back down again. But
there's something wrong with me, man. I gotta rate everything. It's like on a scale of 1 to 10, or if not that, I certainly will have to rank things. If there's more than 2, there's I gotta rank these brands of ketchup.
Hey, but that's
a velocity level. Come on, man. I rank everything. I rate everything. I think it's an OCD thing.
But it's also it's a bloke thing, isn't it? It's just blokes like to do that.
Maybe. Maybe that's it. Yeah. But and I think it's part of what's fun about the channel is I get to do the rankings. And I do love doing the countdowns. I don't know why that gives me so much joy to start from 25 and bring it down. I don't know why. I get excited about it, and I think my audience does too. Even though half the time they know exactly what's going to be number 1, it's just going along for the ride sometimes, and but I think that's something wrong with my brain, though.
No, nothing wrong with your brain at all. Nothing wrong with it at all. Scott, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've loved it. Every single second of this. It's been really, really good fun having a chat.
We're going to do something.
We're going to do something again.
We got to think of like something.
And what we need to think of is some
or...
sort of little series to do where we sort of do this.
Yeah.
I don't think I can commit to doing this on a weekly basis, but maybe sort of every sort of month or 6 weeks or something we could sort of pick up. Maybe it's you suggest something I listen to and react to, and then I can do that as an individual video, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it afterwards. Or maybe we do like the prog years, so we go through.
I like that.
We go through different years, and you say, right, this is an album you need to listen to from this year, and I go, right, I'll do that, and we'll come back and we'll talk about it, or just something to sort of give it some structure to keep it sort of going. It's a thing,
I like that a lot. The new Lars Fredrik Frosley. Have you heard about this? This is the keyboard player from Wobbler.
Oh, right, yeah.
His first solo album.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, just came out. It's amazing. It's called Fire for Tellinger, whatever that means.
Who knows?
Stories of Fire or something. I don't speak Norwegian. It's all in Norwegian. Yeah. That's the kind of stuff I spend my time with.
There's another area we should look at, sort of bands from countries. Going around sort of, so Scandinavia's got so much stuff. Sweden and Finland and Norway.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
What is going on there? Norway, Sweden, Finland has got a ton of great bands. It's just there's something in the water. Something's going on there.
What's happening?
I think it might have something to do with that black metal scene.
Maybe. And the bleakness.
And just how deeply it connected with the soul of a nation. That maybe it's spilling out into prog rock bands from up there. I don't know, but it's cool, man.
It's very cool indeed.
And we're not even burning any churches to do it. It's awesome.
You don't have to do that.
No, we do not.
That's
not our thing, man. We might spin a Mellotron around and,
What happened to Denmark, though?
A couple knives and a Hammond.
Denmark seems to have been left out, though, doesn't it, from that whole
Denmark
thing?
always gets left out.
So
they really do.
I can't think of any bands particularly. I mean, there must be some bands from Denmark, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. Can you?
There's a precious few, and the only one I'm thinking of now is an indie band that I love called the Figurines. That kind of sounded more like Built to Spill or Modest Mouse or Death Cab for Cutie kind of thing. I can't think of any prog from Denmark right now, and people are going to kill me because a Secret Oyster.
Right.
There's one.
Okay, there you
Secret
go.
Oyster. Okay, thank you. I knew I could think of one, man. Oh, Lordy. Yeah, you can't have a channel called the Prog Corner and not be able to come up with at least one prog band from every country on earth, right? That's just that's part of the responsibility of having that prog channel, title. So
well, you're going to get in trouble when you get into African countries.
Oh yeah. I think I'll just have to do the whole
great prog band from Tanzania.
Which honestly, I don't know. I'm probably going to do after Poland. I'm probably just going to do the rest of Eastern Europe as a whole. I reckon call it like Prague behind the Iron Curtain or something.
I reckon there probably is some prog from Africa. It must be some really quite interesting music.
Yeah, these guys right here.
Oh right.
Yeah, their first two albums were done by Roger Dean. They're from Ghana.
Right. Okay.
They're called Osibisa.
Which
is pretty cool.
You I don't even stand corrected. I learn from the master.
There you go.
Right, Scott.
Jim, no, this was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
I know we can't do this all the time, but I think we can definitely do this, once every 2 months, once every quarterly or something.
Yeah, it'd be fab. It'd be really, really good. And it's lovely to talk to you. And it's just nice to be able to sort of connect and chat properly rather than sort of having shout outs for each other in each other's videos from time to time. And hey,
yeah, it's silly.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, we'll do something next time for sure.
All right, cheers.
Take care. Righty. Good deal, Jim. Have a great weekend.
You too.
What's left of it?
Take care. Bye bye.
God save the king.
Arr.